So we'll start the recording, and I would like to officially welcome you to LPC Coffee and Collaboration. I recognize some of your names, but I also see that we have some new people on too, so I'm glad you guys could join us today. I'm really excited about our topic, first of all, because we have three of our best and brightest young people, I would still call them, speaking to us today. About a topic that is just a moving target. It's changing all the time. So once you think you know social media, I feel like it just throws you another curveball, which makes it fun, but also a bit of a challenge at times. So today we're going to talk a little bit about generating analytics for social media. And, I think that some people may be stuck there, like, what, generating analytics? But for those of you that do, we're going to take that a step further. What are some things that we can do now that we have these analytics? How do we best put them to use to improve what we're doing in that space? So with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. We have Katrina Huffstetler. She's the owner of Cactus Flower Communications. Claire Masker, the Director of Public Relations for the National Pork Board. And Jenna McRell, the Assistant Director for Public Relations for the American Angus Association. And they're going to share more of their story here in a little bit, but I would just like to thank you guys for joining us. I know you're busy women, and I appreciate you taking time today. So with that, we'll get started here with Jenna.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the opportunity to be here and share with you a little bit this morning. Like I said, my name is Jenna McRell, and I work for Angus Media out of St. Joseph, Missouri. And part of that involves my job being kind of the digital editor, handling all things social media and web and things of that regard. So I've been at the Angus Association for about 5 years and loving it. And I'm a Mizzou grad. So that's just a little bit about me before we get started. But I also wanted to share with you just a little bit about how the association uses social media, so you can kind of understand a little bit from our perspective what we're coming at here. And so we use a lot of different channels to stay connected with several different audiences. And so as you can see, we have pages for the association, for the Angus Journal, our magazine, and for the National Junior Angus Association, which is a fun demographic to play around with, new social tools like Snapchat. So we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those fun things across our platforms there. And altogether, throughout our team, we probably have 3 or 4 people who are active in some way. We don't have one person who's solely focused on social media, but we all kind of collaborate together to keep all of these channels filled with interesting content. So yeah, and what's great about Angus is we do have a lot of content all the time, and so sometimes that can be a struggle with social media is finding enough information to kind of keep fed out there, but we do have a lot of good content, and so it's fun to try and find what fits in the social realm. So that's a little bit about me, and the way we decided to kind of divvy it up this morning here is for each of us to kind of take our own platform. And so I'm going to kick it off with Facebook and talk about the insights available there. And so if you have an organization or company page that you manage, you're probably pretty familiar with this Insights tab within Facebook. But I'm going to give an overview of some of the information you can find there and some of the tools that work well for me in kind of my day-to-day life in social media. And we'll also talk about what we do with that data and how we put it to use throughout our team. So that's kind of an overview of what we're doing here. And so, yeah, you can click on through. So the Insights tab, which hopefully you all know where that is if you're managing pages, but this is kind of the overview section within Facebook Insights, and I like to visit this, at least maybe every other day, once a week, to kind of get a good pulse of how the page is performing. I really like how they give you all this information right up front with, these green numbers and little tick marks to let you know, hey, you're doing well, the page is moving in the right direction. Or as you can see down on the bottom right-hand corner with, our videos, we have a red down tick, which that tells me I need to post some more videos to make sure we're continuing to grow for those autoplay videos is what that's referring to on Facebook, that kind of direct upload thing. So this allows me to take a really quick picture and see what's working and what areas we need to do better. And so this data can be analyzed from the past 7 days, or there's a little drop-down menu there near the top that allows you, I think, to go back even for a month. So you can kind of go in and see those quick hit trends from there. Another thing we use quite a bit is the export data option, which will give you an Excel spreadsheet, and you can go back up to 6 months there. And so I like to go in every month and kind of get a good Excel spreadsheet that I can kind of analyze some of those longer term trends and keep that data stored, because it only goes back 6 months. So if you're not in it and using and saving that information, it will kind of be lost out there. But anyway, that's kind of the overview of the page summary at the top. So there you go, 7 days. And then the export data option, I think there's a little circle around that one too, that you can click on through. All right, and another thing that I spend a lot of time on within Facebook Insights are these pages to watch. And I love it because we can take data and we can
listen with you. Yes.
I cannot get it to.
I've got. So the only way I can get it to work is I have to call in and.
We can. Sorry about that. A little distracted. We can look at all the pages to watch to kind of give you some context.
On my contact.
Sorry, I'm still hearing.
Okay. Sorry. No, that's okay. I think we're getting feedback. Is somebody on with their phone and their computer? You really need to choose phone or computer, please.
That's better. Are we back on?
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, we're still on track here. Let's see. So I was looking at pages to watch in Facebook Insights. And these are really a fantastic set of data because it really gives you the context of how your page is performing relative to other pages that you want to watch. And so I can go in, every day and change these pages, every week. There's no kind of limit. You can go in and customize them the way that you want to kind of get a good grasp on how your page is doing, because that's the biggest thing for us, is having all the data, but then having the context around that to see what you can do to get better. And so, like, for instance, with this week, I can see NCBA is having a great week with engagement. Hereford is too as well. They're having a good run at it this week. And so then I want to know, okay, what are they posting? And how can I learn from that? So what you can do is click on the page title there, which have a little snapshot of that. So click one more. And then you can see the top posts from that organization. And so that's really interesting way to see what content they're posting that's driving that engagement. And obviously NCBA had helping push the big announcement there with China imports of U.S. beef, and obviously a big headline that you would expect to really garner a lot of attention. So it's good that they were out there early and posting that. So I like to keep a good grasp on what other organizations are posting and the type of response they're getting. So this is a great way to do that. Okay, we'll move along here. Also, this is within that overview page, and you can see your top 5 most recent posts, kind of get a quick glance about excuse me, how those posts are doing, what the reach is, what the engagements are with that, and kind of a quick hit. And then if you click on the See All Posts section of that, it kind of takes you to a more overarching page that gives you a bit more information on your posts. And really what I love about this section is the chart at the top, which explains when your fans are online. Really studying this data kind of changed the way I was thinking about how we did our post on our associations page, because oftentimes, you get in the office first thing in the morning and I'm thinking, all right, I've got to get my posts up and I want them up fast because I'm at my computer now. Surely other people, are doing the same thing. But the reality is, it's later in the afternoon, kind of those evening hours for us, according to this data, when people are interacting on Facebook. And so it's just important to kind of understand your audience and when and where they're coming at your content. And so another chart that's interesting in this section would be the post types. And this is probably things we've all heard before about Facebook, but photos and visuals really drive success for engagement. If you don't have a photo to really stop people and engage them in what you're looking at, it's probably best to put one with it. As I can see, just go straight down the line. Photos do well, links do well. Videos are growing platform on Facebook too, and just a status update with text, it just doesn't hit it anymore. You kind of have to have that photo visual to go with it. So that's an interesting piece of information to look at for your page as well. And another element within this is kind of the rundown from top posts from those pages that you watch, those pages you assign in your overview section that you want to keep tabs on, so you can see, hey, what type of content is working for them, what can I learn from it, and how can we grow together. So that's kind of an interesting thing to look into as well. Let's see. And so what I like to do within our all posts page, every couple of weeks or every week, is kind of sort by that engagement and reach to see which ones kind of move to the top of the heap, and decide, how we can do more of that, or kind of bring up the issues that we want to be higher up within that. And so you can see here, I've sorted by post clicks, reactions, comments, and shares. And at the very top of that is a picture that we had from our National Junior Angus show. So that's how they're being sorted. And then you can click in and find all this depth of information about that post. You can see how many people it reached, all the likes, now the array of emotional loves, laughs, all those crazy emoticons that you can kind of use now as well on Facebook. But you can just really get a good understanding for the size of audience that is actually engaging with a post. And so I think that's pretty cool to go in on occasion and use that information and allow it to help you in other ways within our communications. Because this photo particularly did so well on social media during the National Junior Angus show. We were able to use it on the cover of our magazine. So that was kind of fun because we saw such a great response. We knew that was one of the key images that we'd want to focus in on. So that's kind of the drill down on the posts. Let's see here. Back on the overview page, another section I just like to call your attention to as something to check out would be the page views item there on the left-hand side. This is kind of interesting because it's, if you click forward one more, page views would link really well to like your website page views, right? But what these are calculating would be people who are actually clicking on your Facebook page and visiting that home page and actually spending time on your Facebook page. They're not just seeing a post within the news feed, but they're coming directly to your page and spending time with it. And I think that's interesting because if I try to think about the pages that I do that with, it's very slim. I hardly ever go to a page and actually spend some time with it. So I like to kind of keep a tab on how those page views are working in Facebook. So you can see a chart, and you can also see by section. So you can see what page people are going into. It's no surprise the home page is probably the most active, and then it looks like we have a little bit of a spike from time to time on photos. So that's something to consider though in terms of, how can we drive people to that photo page or to that videos page. Just some added opportunity there to try and get people involved with Facebook. And another chart down below, you'll see under that section, it kind of told you a little bit about your demographic. So who's spending time on your page, age group, men, women, things like that. And there's a lot of other demographic information also within Facebook Insights, but that's just one little glimpse there on the page views. And you can also take a look at by device, whether people are looking at it on your mobile phone, obviously, the big hitter there. or a computer. And so all that's good information when trying to understand your audience. So let's see. Another page that I spend quite a bit of time with would be the reach. You know, how many people have the opportunity to see that post from your Facebook page in their news feed? When I'm in here, I'm always looking for spikes. So the first thing I want to know is, oh gosh, what happened on September 6th? I want to know what piece of content prompted that spike. And so you can actually go in and click on it. You click on the top of that spike, and it will bring you up this kind of active posts from September 6th. And so that's really interesting because you can see just what is prompting people and getting their attention. And then just like before, you can click on that post and it'll bring up all those details about how the content is performing. And this one was important to us, you know, more from a kind of management piece, some information we want to share about VFD, make sure our producers are ready to go and know what they need to know prior to this regulation coming in place. So this is a good study for us to know, okay, when we have an important piece of information like this to get out based on our social media analytics, we know that people are interested and they're engaging with it. And so that's an important piece as we go along the way here. So that's an example of that. Let's see. And so when I'm looking at all of these analytics and all this data and metrics, really what I'm looking for, you know, is that engagement and page reach really help determine whether or not we're being successful. And the reason that is two things. We know that people are seeing our content. We know that they're engaged with it. We know that they're responding. And because of that, Facebook will rate your content higher within the news feed, within that mysterious world of Facebook algorithms, right? Of whether or not we post something, is anyone going to see it? And so the more active your page is and the more people are interacting with you, the more likely your content will be seen later on in that news feed. And so kind of at the back of my head, every time I'm looking through the insights, would be, you know, is our audience reacting the way that they should be on our key issues? So any of those articles that we really know we need to get out and push, are they responding? And if they're not, how can we find ways to make sure that they do by changing, you know, photos or video or whatever it is that really prompts that engagement for those key messages. And so one thing that takes this all a step further would be coupling this data with Google Analytics from your website and seeing, you know, just because this post prompts so many Facebook likes, what does that mean in terms of web traffic? How much time are they spending on the website once they get there? And so that's kind of an interesting study to look at that all together in terms of how your media is being used. Okay, and I think here's just kind of a wrap up. I kind of talked through some of this along the way, but I'm in Insights at least once a week, every other day if I can. I like to keep a collection of those pages to watch just to see how we stack up from other pages on a more long-term basis and kind of see how we're growing in that regard. We download all of those analytics each month so that I have a good base to look back on for year-over-year trends. We compare them against Google Analytics to kind of see what our top digital news would be, and you know, always kind of gauging what our content or our users want in terms of content and how we can continue to perfect that moving forward. And probably one of the best pieces of advice when it comes just to analytics and metrics overall was I heard one of the speakers at Ag Media Summit this past summer said, you know, all of these analytics are based on perspective, and so it's important to know what your goals are with social media and measuring according to those goals. So there's a ton of data out there, but just make sure whatever your goals are with your social pages, you're able to really measure that accordingly. So anyway, that's kind of a fast and furious look at Facebook Insights and the way we use it. Certainly every organization is different, and look forward to seeing how other of you use them as well. So that's it for Facebook. Pass it over to Claire.
Hi, everyone. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. I'm on my earbuds because I'm at a conference in a hotel room. So can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. As Jennifer said, I'm the Director of Public Relations with the National Pork Board, and I manage our pork checkoff and real pig farming social channels, and I am a graduate from Iowa State University. So go Cyclones. You can go to the next one. So with our hashtag Real Pig Farming, which hopefully most of you guys have heard about, our goal is to unite pig farmers, academics, youth, veterinarians, and allied industry members to discuss how today's pig farming really works. With Real Pig Farming, it's more about the farmers and them sharing their stories. With our pork checkoff social channels, we really use that to communicate our checkoff messages to producers and industry affiliates. So that includes kind of our science and technology research, anything that we're doing in domestic marketing, how are we using producers' dollars to sell more pork. So that's really where we've separated that line of checkoff messages to producers go on pork checkoff, and then Real Pig Farming that shares that farming story goes on Real Pig Farming. You can go to the next one. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Twitter, and I don't know how many people have actually seen the tweet activity dashboard. You can see this both on your private Twitter platform or Twitter profiles as well as your business profiles. But you can learn more about your tweets and how they resonate with your audience, so you can see how they engage with them, compare your tweet activity with followers. You can now, if you go into the app on your phone, there's kind of a little bar graph at the bottom of each tweet, and it'll show you detailed view of the number of retweets, replies, likes, follows, or clicks. And you can also download your tweet metrics as well into an Excel spreadsheet file. You have to download using a web browser, but on your mobile phone you can get to each individual tweet to see how it's doing. You go on the next slide. So to get to that tweet activity dashboard, you go to analytics.twitter.com. You have to make sure that you turn on the analytics for your account. So I took a screenshot this week of our tweets and how many on Real Pig Farming. So this month we've earned over 45,500 impressions over a 28-day period. So that just shows up and allows you, impressions are a measuring tool. I say they're an important measuring tool, but they can't be our end-all, be-all to say if content was measurable or content was engaging. You can go to the next slide. So when you get to that dashboard on a web page, you'll see at the top it'll say home, tweets, audiences, events, and events is more about what's going on in the land of Twitter. So they might be talking about the CMA Awards or the presidential debate if you're trying to get your tweets kind of seen if there's events going on. So in that overall tweets, it'll show you kind of your top tweets. So last month or during September, our top tweet was from Keith Shatner. He's our America's Pig Farmer of the Year. And he said, I grew up in the city thanks to someone taking time to show me pig farming. I found my passion. But then we also have a top media tweet. So that includes, if we included like a video, which this was Jared, who is a finalist this year for America's Pig Farmer of the Year. I think you can kind of see what we talk about during the month of September, as there is some online voting for our America's Pig Farmer of the Year program. But then we can also see our top mention when they've used Real Pig Farming. And I'll let you know that these Twitter analytics are only for profiles. If you're measuring a hashtag, you have to use some different programs to do that, but I'll talk about that a little bit later too. You go to the next one. And so when you drill down into that tweet activity, It tells you kind of your impressions for your tweet, those total engagements, and then it breaks down, did they play the video? So we had 49 plays on that video of Jared's tweet, 23 likes, 13 retweets, 13 people actually clicked on the link within it, and then they clicked on 5 people, clicked on to learn more about our profile of Real Pig Farming. So again, it just kind of shows you what your tweets are doing. It gives you a little bit more than just retweets, so you can see what those engagements are. And I think, engagements tell you a little bit more than probably just straight impressions. So your engagements will always be lower than your impressions, but can kind of tell you what media is really resonating with people when you share it on Twitter. Go to the next one. You can also get your audience insight, and so what I think it will tell you kind of what they're interested in. So a lot of ours are interested in business and news. The top language is English. They'll tell you if they're online buyers. It'll even tell you kind of what their mobile footprint is. So most of our users are using Verizon. We don't really use a lot of that data up there, but it is kind of interesting to see as well. It tells you kind of how your audience base is growing. And so this past month we grew by 80 followers. And so we've gained about 3 followers per day. It'll tell you gender. So majority of our followers are female, and that's 62%. And then it also shows you household income categories. There is a lot of good information in there if you're just kind of curious to break down your audience profile. Next slide. So, using the analytics, kind of what we've seen is compare this month's data to past data. So you can download a CVS file with details on tweets for the past several months and determine whether your interaction has changed. What content did your followers interact with the most, and when did they interact with it? And track your audience interest in your tweets. So it's just a good way to kind of know what's working and what's not. I think we've seen a lot on Real Pig Farming. What we've learned is that our stories and blog posts really resonate with people. Videos resonate with people. They get the most interaction. We have a website called porkcares.org, and we share information from that, but we know when we share those links, we'll get less interaction than we do, say, on blog posts. So that's just something to keep in mind and something we've learned by looking at the analytics. Next slide, please. So I told you I would talk a little bit about a tracking software. For hashtag Real Pig Farming, one of our goals is not just to have good content that we create, but also having farmers and producers and people in the industry sharing their good content. And so we started out using Social Sprout and Keyhole, and those are both great, a little bit lower cost than what we're using now, Newbie, to kind of get into those analytics with the hashtag and who was using it. The hardest part with Keyhole and Social Sprout is that we always want to make sure we're measuring the positive and the negative, and so we were having to go in each month and measure if we had activists active on Real Pig Farming. Someone had to go in and say this was positive, this was negative in an Excel spreadsheet. We could download all the mentions, but we would have to manually put in if it was positive versus negative. And with Newbie, we've been able to train that software, and so there's certain usually words or active followers that we know might be negative, and so that Newbie software knows it is and tracks it as negative. We can get real-time insights as well. We can get down to the street level with Newbie on who is using it and where they're at, which has really helped us kind of when activists have popped up. They popped up this weekend, so we can tell where they're at and why they might be active. If you have money and you're using a hashtag and it's not just, managing, profiles and you want to see what other people are doing, Newbie is a great software. But I also know that sometimes that's not always possible. So there are free ways. Each tracking software, whether you use free or use a paid service, is going to have some drawbacks. But we really enjoy using Nuvve, and if you guys have more questions or want to do a demo of it, I can surely share that with you later. But it's a good software for us and what we're doing. So I'm done.
Hi. Jennifer, do I need to hit something so that my face comes up?
Do you not? No, you're up.
I'm up?
On the
Okay.
screen. It might just be the view that you have, Katrina.
Okay, perfect, because you're on mine. So I just want to make sure I was doing this right.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Katrina Huffstetler. I'm so glad to be with you guys today. It's a pleasure visiting with you all, seeing some of you as well. I am the owner of Cactus Flower Communications. I started out, I guess, backtrack a little bit. I'm a Texas Tech grad, agricultural communications, bachelor's and master's. I have my emphasis in print journalism. When I left grad school, I went to Texas Pork Producers Association, where I was their first director of communications. I was there about a year and a half, and then I got offered a staff writing job at the Cattleman Magazine, which is TSCRA's monthly publication. A little bit later became associate editor there, and then also social media manager. I got to create all of their social media for them. After being at the Cattleman for about 5 years, I went out on my own. I own Cactus Flower Communications, which is I do freelance writing, that's feature writing, copywriting, web writing. I also do a lot of social media management. So Jennifer, if you want to go to the next slide, please. About 50% of what I do is social media, and it's almost entirely for ag clients. Some of those are ag organizations, some are ag businesses. I also have a few small businesses and other entities that aren't related to ag or maybe not directly related to ag. I've worked with home builders, boutiques, car dealerships, a professional rodeo cowboy. I do everything from writing the post to complete social media management. So lots of different packages. I also offer social media training and do consulting. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I do social media wise. I get to talk about Instagram today, which is fun because Instagram Insights are still pretty new. Instagram did not roll out their business profiles until late spring and early summer. So until that time, if you were on Instagram as a business, it actually looked the same and acted the same as a profile you would have personally. But now that you are able to have that business profile, we have insights that are very similar to Facebook's, not quite as extensive, but they look a lot alike. As many of you know, Facebook bought Instagram a while back, so a lot of the insights do work the same. And in those, you're able to find out information about your followers and information about which posts perform the best. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on the following slides. First of all, since it is so new, I thought I would show you, for if there's any of you who haven't yet accessed the Insights page, when you go to your profile on Instagram, if you look up kind of in the top right-hand corner, you'll see that bar graph. I have it circled here on this screenshot. So if you'll tap on that bar graph, that'll take you to Insights. And I'll tell you a little bit more about those on the following slides. The main page, and I'm sorry you can't see these very large, but maybe at least it gives you a little bit of an overview of what it looks like. The main page will just give you that overview of Insights. It'll tell you overall impressions. It'll show you your top 2 or 3 posts for the month and show you when your followers are on. Now, if you tap on any of those blue items, like next to top posts or next to followers, you'll get more details. And in the following slides, I'll show you those. Okay, first of all, if you'll click on the blue See More next to Top Post, you'll get to see your top post for the last 30 days. And this is sorted by impressions. And the overall impressions, the #1 photo for the last 30 days for this account was that close-up shot of the cow. Had 634, I think, impressions. Next was a photo of Dr. Larry Cora. That just shows you down a quick visual guide to which posts work the best that month. So that's always fun to see. if you'll go to the next slide, please. Those top posts can be sorted a lot of different ways depending on exactly what you want to do. If you want to know impressions, reach, engagement, likes, comments, you can do all of that. And all you have to do is just scroll down and change which way you want those to be sorted. Definitions, since this is a little bit murky on some of these. Impressions are total times that your post has been seen. So if you have a business profile on Instagram and I'm one of your followers and I happen to see your post 3 times, that gives you 3 impressions, even though it was me every time. Reach, on the other hand, is the number of unique accounts that have seen that post. So if I saw it 3 times, I'm only counting once on reach. Engagement, then, is the number of likes and comments put together. So if you had 5 comments and 20 likes, you got 25 for engagement. The industry average is about 4% right now. So when you look at your engagement numbers, you want to make sure that you're at 4% or above. If you're not, you might need to look at doing some different things on Instagram. Now, if you go back and you tap See More next to followers, you can get all sorts of information on the people who are viewing your page. You can see gender. For this particular account, we've got 52% female, 48% male. Almost split down the middle, but a few more women. You can see age range, which can be really important when you're trying to develop content. Locations, that'll tell you the top, I believe the top 5 cities that your followers are coming from. That's not as helpful to me in most of my accounts, but it's still kind of cool to know. And then days and hours when followers are most active. This is really important. And this time and date can change a lot depending on which account you're looking at the time. One of my Instagram accounts, we used to really try not to post stuff after, say 8 or 9 o'clock Central, but we learned that a lot of people were looking at 10 and 11 o'clock. So now if we have something come in late, we go ahead and post it. And that's good to know. We can go to the next slide now. I'll talk real briefly about third-party analytics. There's lots of options. Here's a few that I have used. Google Analytics, one of the great ways that you can use that is if you have a link in your Instagram profile, which I highly recommend that it either goes to your website or your blog or whatever. You can see how many people are coming from Instagram to that website. And that's something we use a lot on the accounts that I work on. Iconosquare, it's a paid service. However, you can get a free 7-day trial and get just about anything you want. So if you leave this webinar today and decide you want to know information on Facebook, but you don't really want to pay any money, on Instagram, I'm sorry. You don't want to pay any money, get on my Iconosquare, sign up for the 7-day trial. You don't have to give them a credit card number. You'll get tons of information, and you can kind of see where you want to go from there. Same goes with Simply Measured. Simply Measured offers some really great premium services, but for free you can get a high-level summary. You just enter in your profile and all of that information for them, and it will generate a summary. It'll email it to you. You do have to give them your email address, but you don't have to give them a credit card number or anything. So that's another way to get more information. Top advice, first of all, don't be scared to join Instagram if you're not there already for your business. It's very popular. It's growing very fast. The last numbers I could find were 500 million active users per month, 95 million daily posts. That's a lot. So there's a lot of opportunity here, but not much risk. The other thing is, and this is really not Instagram specific, but it's so much more important to know your audience than the rules. There's always exceptions to rules when it comes to how many pictures you should post a week, or what kinds of pictures, or how much content you should put with those photos. Look and see what your audience is responding to and do more of that. Also remember that audience is going to change. You're going to get new users all the time. They might be in a different age group. They might be at a different technology level. Just keep looking at those stats weekly or more often, and you can keep your information up to date. And that's where I'm going to close. But all 3 of us would love to take questions from you.
It's looking a little quiet out there, guys. Does anybody have any questions for our experts here about interpreting analytics, or tips on what to do once you have those analytics?
Hi, my name is Peyton Waldrop. I'm here at the International Brangus Association, and this is not a very good question for insight, but what were the different, I don't know if they were websites or apps or programs or whatever, but what different technologies did y'all say that y'all use in explaining how y'all analyze analytics?
Jenna, do you want to start with yours?
Let's see. Yeah, can you hear me? So you're curious what websites we use to explain?
Yes. Sorry, I missed the names
No,
of
that's
them.
okay. I just want to make sure I answer the question correctly. So yeah, with Facebook, like I kind of talked about, there's a lot of depth in just the insights pages there, and then we would use it, all the reports from Insights in connection with Google Analytics to kind of pull all the pieces together with that. So those would be the two that I would be most familiar with.
Okay, thank you. And then I got the analytics.twitter.com. So, but anyway, so I just didn't know, but y'all are pretty much using the analytics services that the social media platforms already offer.
Yes, and then for Instagram, I also recommended, in addition to using Google Analytics, using, if you want to use Iconosquare or Simply Measured, those are both services that will offer you free or paid options. Now, there's a lot of places you can go to and spend some money, and there's a list I could give you of different options, but those are two that would let you do quite a bit for free at a trial level, and then decide where you want to go from there.
Okay, thank y'all. I called in, so I didn't have the slides up in front of me.
Oh, no, that's quite all right. And these will be available later, too, so.
Okay, perfect.
Looks like we have another one. What do you do when you have a campaign or a social media effort that you love, but it isn't doing well when you look at your data? Do you boost it, promote it, give up, edit it?
I definitely say boost it. If it's good, throw $5, $10, $20 at it, whatever you value it at, and a lot more folks are going to see it that way. Now, obviously, you can make adjustments if you're going to follow up, if it's part of a campaign, and maybe you do the writing a little bit different on the next post, or you do the media a little bit different. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would probably do the same thing, exact same thing. Like, especially if you're really, you've planned it out and it's something you're really excited about. Especially on Facebook, $5, $10 can go a long way in terms of who's actually seeing what you're doing. And if you post it once, you need a lot of users to kind of jump on board and like it right off the bat in order for that post to kind of continue to live and do well throughout Facebook. So yeah, I don't give up right off the bat for sure. Just kind of looking at all of the ways that you can kind of heighten that exposure and seeing ways you can tweak throughout the process. So.
Yeah, I think if something is going really well, like earlier this year when we did the Women in Real Pig Farming video, we let that play out as long as it could without boosting. And when we boosted, it added some views and stuff, but not a ton. But if we're doing, say, we work with Katrina on some blog posts, and we've done some calls for to people for us to provide content. And so if we do something like that, I might boost it so that more people are seeing it and more people are putting content in there, so photos or responses to the questions. So I think it all kind of depends on what your goal is with the post. And I think we could all agree that there's no magic bullet. Like, we might think we have a really great piece of content and that everyone's going to love it, and it's like no one liked it, and then a picture of bacon roses people go crazy for. So I think it all just kind of depends.
I saw that Maggie asked about having a business profile on Instagram versus just sharing your business and personal stuff on your personal Instagram. And I think that's a great question. Obviously, it can be a little bit easier to be able to do it all in one place, but the value in having that Instagram profile for your business, I'm assuming you're talking about your photography business, Maggie, it's huge, because not only are you able to add that contact information directly to your profile, but you're also able to get all of these insights and analytics that are not available on a if you're just using your personal Instagram. On your personal Instagram, you can see what was liked. You can see that this picture had 36 likes or 436 likes. But if you have that professional business profile, you're able to see, what times of day your people are on, if they're men, if they're women, how old they are, those kinds of things. Does that kind of answer your question?
I think we lost her. Well answered, Katrina.
Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you. I hope
Can you hear me?
Now we
I
can.
can hear you. Does
Oh,
that
okay.
answer your question?
Yeah, sorry, I was starting to type again. And then I realized I could talk to you. So, yeah, I was asking about that, but then also our ranch, using it for that. And the one thing I was wondering was, I guess, trying to, if we could share more from our personal side, knowing it would get done versus, excuse me, trying to come up with a strategy for the business side. Like we would have to think about it a lot more and that kind of thing.
Well,
Just
my opinion is do what you can. If you think you can, if you think you're going to accomplish more, if it's just all on one profile, then do that, because that's the best, that's kind of the best you can do. One thing that's really cool, and some people may not realize yet, but a kind of a new feature on Instagram, I think it rolled out maybe 5 months ago or so, maybe 5 or 6. You can switch between accounts really easily now, whereas used to you had to sign in and sign out each time, which was a huge pain if you're like me and have, say, 8 to 10 Instagram accounts you're working on. So that's one thing that makes it a little bit easier. Something you could also do, Maggie, if you're going to have the ranch profile as well, is you can do a lot of reposts. You can repost stuff from your personal, and I use Insta Repost, but there's a lot of different options out there that all work great. I actually have the premium version of Insta Repost, which costs a whopping $3 a month, and it's really cool. So that's one thing you could do. Obviously, if you can put together a strategy, that's better. But if you can't, do what you can. You're wearing a lot of different hats, and I think the more you're on, the better. No matter what level that is, no matter what level that's at.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Well, it is 10:50, and so I'm trying to keep us on schedule here. But the great thing about having these chats is they're with our very own LPC members who are always willing to share their ideas and visit about these topics. And if you have any problems getting a hold of them, feel free to let me know. But they've been very active on our Facebook page, and I just posted that in case you haven't seen our Facebook page. We'd love to have you engage with us on Facebook for sure, and all of our social media venues. Thank you again so much, girls. I really appreciate your efforts and your energy. This was a great presentation, and as soon as I can get this downloaded and posted to YouTube, I'll share that on our Facebook page, and we'll also get it on our LPC website. So thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
First, and look at your 2 envelopes from the yoga. One of them should be Carol's.
Oh no. I just threw them over here. Oops.
I think I messed them up.